Charing Cross station. So please follow the one-way system and respect the instructions from our volunteers and staff. All of our volunteers and staff are wearing yellow or green high-vis vests today. For your safety, we will be conducting random bag checks, and we appreciate your cooperation with the security staff in keeping the event safe. Trained security personnel and stewards will be on hand throughout the event. So please follow all the instructions from event staff, especially in emergency. As today is a solemn occasion, we have a strict no alcohol policy, and any alcohol found during entry will be confiscated. In the event of an emergency, there will be announcements which will guide you with evacuation instructions. Please follow the stewards to the nearest exit. Emergency services are on standby and all the exits will be operational. Please use the nearest exit to your location. A medical station will be available with trained first aid responders and equipment, including defibrillators. If you need any assistance, please visit one of the medical points. There are paid public toilets nearby, including one under the stairs at Charing Cross station, which is that way, and those will close at 8 o'clock, but there's others available down the road in coffee shops and pubs. And the public urinal is behind St. Martin's Church on Adelaide Street. Hand sanitizer. And please familiarize yourself with the nearest fire exits and follow the instructions if evacuation is necessary. To ensure safety, please follow the steward's guidance for orderly entry, movement and exit. Be mindful of the designated routes to avoid congestion. A safeguarding officer will be on site to ensure the well-being of children and vulnerable individuals. If you require assistance, please approach any steward or staff member. And just a reminder that this is a peaceful event, and any aggression, nuisance or provocation will not be tolerated. Individuals breaching the rules will be promptly removed from the square. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation. Thank you very much for helping us keep the event safe and enjoyable for everyone. We hope you enjoy the event as we celebrate unity, support and solidarity. Я хочу всім подякувати, що ви сьогодні з нами у цей день. 3 роки стійкості України проти повномасштабної російської агресії. Ваша безпека та благополуччя є нашими головними пріоритетами, тому, будь ласка, зверніть увагу на наступні важливі моменти. Основна точка входу знаходиться на північній терасі біля галереї, з єдиним виходом у південно-східному куті, найближче до станції Charing Cross. Будь ласка, дотримуйтесь односторонньої системи та поважайте інструкції наших волонтерів і співробітників. Ви можете побачити їх у зелених та жовтих жилетках. Для вашої безпеки ми будемо проводити випадкові перевірки сумок. Ми цінуємо вашу співпрацю з охороною та для забезпечення безпеки цієї події. Підготовлений персонал Служби безпеки та стюарди будуть готові протягом усього заходу. Будь ласка, дотримуйтесь усіх інструкцій персоналу заходу, особливо в екстрених випадках. Персонал має жовті або зелені хай-віз жилетки. Оскільки сьогодні урочиста подія, ми суворо забороняємо алкоголь. Будь-який алкоголь, знайдений під час входу, буде конфіскований. У разі оголошення надзвичайної ситуації, персонал заходу нададуть вам інструкції щодо евакуації. Слідуйте за стюардами до найближчого виходу. Аварійні служби в режимі очікування і усі виходи будуть робочими. Будь ласка, скористайтеся найближчим виходом за вашим місцезнаходженням. Буде доступна медична станція з підготовленими спеціалістами з надання першої допомоги та обладнанням, включаючи дефібрилятори. Якщо вам потрібна допомога, то зверніться до найближчого до вас стюарда. Поруч є платні громадські туалети, які закриваються о 8 годині, в тому числі один під сходами на станції Charing Cross і громадські пісуари з церквою СВ. Вогнегасники стратегічно розміщені по всьому майданчику. Будь ласка, ознайомтесь з найближчими протипожежними виходами та затримуйтесь інструкції у разі необхідності евакуації. Для забезпечення безпеки дотримуйтесь вказівок стюардів щодо впорядкованого входу, руху та виходу. Зверніть увагу на визначені маршрути, щоб уникнути заторів. Офіцери охорони будуть на місці, щоб обезпечити благополуччя дітей і і людей. Якщо потрібна допомога або дитина загубилася, зверніться до будь-якого стюарда або співробітника. Це мирний заход, і будь-яка агресія, незручність чи провокації не допускатимуться. Особи, які порушують правила, будуть негайно видалені з площі. Дякую, що допомогли нам зробити подію безпечною та приємною для всіх. Слава Україні!
Слава Україні! Слава нації! Україна! І нашим кращим захисникам, найкращим України тричі! Слава! 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 Good evening, dear all. Thank you so much for coming to mark this tragic date. It's 3 years of full invasion, of horrific, unprovoked war on independent country, Ukraine. Ukraine is bleeding every day. Russians, they are killing Ukrainians every day. So we need to be strong, united for Ukraine. Donate, help our armed forces, because they are protecting our land, our kids, our future. You all know, Ukrainians, they want to be free. Winston Churchill said, I quote, "War is bad, but slavery is even worse." Winston Churchill сказав, війна – це погано, приносить багато смертей, але ще гірше, коли ми у рабстві. Тому нам треба підтримувати Збройні сили, донатити, допомагати зараз якомога більше. And also another valid point in the latest events in the world. Nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine at negotiation. We pay the highest price. Ukrainians pay the highest price with their lives. Some countries, they pay more for petrol. Some people, they pay more for food. But Ukrainians paying with their lives. So please, stand united for Ukraine. Keep helping. And Slava Ukraini! Slava nacії! Україна! І ще раз самим кращим Збройним силам України, Armed Forces of Ukraine 3 times. Slava! 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 Ukrainians, they are guarding and defending democracy, freedom, and also we are standing and guarding all Europe, and this is established fact. Also, Churchill said another good thing. Nations who lost their battle, they will recover. but when they give up, they will vanish. Вінстон Черчилль також ще сказав одну хорошу річ. Народ, який програє, він відновиться. Але народ, який здався, вони зникають. Тому ми мусимо боротися і стояти, захищати Україну. Дякую. Ми продовжуємо зараз нашу програму з виконання українського гімну. Слава Україні!
World, support Ukraine. World, support Ukraine. World, support Ukraine. All together, we will win. All together, we will win. All together, we will win. More sanctions on Russia. More sanctions on Russia. More sanctions on Russia. Seize Russian assets. Seize Russian assets. Seize Russian assets. Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. Help Ukraine protect peace. Help Ukraine protect peace. Help Ukraine protect peace. And my friends, let's say thank you to this great country who has always stood side by side with Ukraine. Thank you, Britain.
Слава Ісусу Христу! Слава Україні! Dear sisters and brothers, today we are marking this third anniversary of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Let us pray for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, especially those who are defending Ukraine. Сьогодні ми хочемо проводити нашу зустріч тут з молитвою. Ми з'єднаємо наші молитви для всіх наших братів і сестри в Україні, що зараз захищає нашу Україну. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа. Амінь.
Всемогутній і великий Боже, прийми нашу молитву, вдячність за Твоє безмежне милосердя до нас. Почуй благання наших зболених сердець за землю і народ України, який протистоїть зовнішній агресії та вторгненню. Відкрий очі тим, що одержимі духом обману і насильства, що вони жахнулися своїх діл. Даруй перемогу над повсталими силами зла і благослови Україну Твоїми дарами свободи, миру, спокою і щастя. Благаємо Тебе, милосердний Боже, зглянься ласкаво на тих, хто мужньо боронить свою землю. Згадай матерів і батьків, невинних дітей, вдів і сиріт, інвалідів і безпомічних, тих, хто шукає укриття і притулку, хто звертається до Тебе і до своїх ближніх, шукаючи милосердя і співчуття. Благослови серця тих, хто вже виявив велику щедрість і солідарність, і тих, хто готується прийняти своїх українських братів і сестер у найбільш скрутний для України час. Збери нас разом, як Твоїх дітей, Твоє творіння, і дай нам Твою силу, мудрість і розуміння, бо Тобі належить всяка честь і слава, нині, повсякчас і на віки вічні. Амінь.
A prayer for Ukraine. Almighty and great God, accept our gratitude for your boundless mercy towards us. Hear the supplications of our afflicted hearts for the land and people of Ukraine, as they comfort foreign aggression and invasion. Open the eyes of those who have been overtaken by a spirit of deception and violence, that they may be horrified by their works. Grant victory over the powers of evil that have arisen and bless Ukraine with your gifts of liberty, peace, tranquility, and good fortune. We implore you, O merciful God, look with grace upon those who courageously defend their land. Remember the mothers and fathers, the innocent children, widows and orphans, the disabled and helpless, those seeking shelter and refuge, who reach out to you and to their fellow human beings, looking for mercy and compassion. Bless the hearts of those who have already shown great generosity and solidarity, and those who prepare and have received their Ukrainian brothers and sisters in Ukraine's greatest time of need. Bring us together as your children, your creation, and instill in us your strength, wisdom, and understanding. And may you be praised and glorified now and forever and ever unto ages of ages. Amen.
We recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, now and ever, unto age of ages. Amen. And glory to Ukraine.
Слава Ісусу Христу, хай Бог благословить всіх вас, в Отця і Сина і Святого Духа. Амінь.
Dear all, I have a privilege to ask to say a few words. His Excellency, Ambassador of Ukraine to the United Kingdom, our Iron General Valery Zaluzhny.
Слава Україні! Дуже усім дякую. Отже, дорогі українці, друзі, всі, хто з серцем, з Україною зараз тут. Сьогодні ми стоїмо тут не просто як свідки історії. Ми вже, мабуть, не є її носіями, а ми є її творцями. 3 роки тому світ похитнувся. Для нас це був день, коли ми мали обрати між страхом та гідністю. Ми обрали боротьбу. Ми вибрали свободу. Ми вибрали, перш за все, Україну. За ці 3 роки ми навчилися цінувати кожен новий світанок, кожен момент із нашими рідними та близькими. Кожен день, коли наша земля залишається нашою. Ми навчилися бачити світ по-іншому, у відтінках мужності та, звісно, болю, але завжди з надією. Ми стали нацією, яка знає справжню ціну життя і свободи. Я хочу, щоб сьогодні кожен згадав, наша боротьба – це не тільки про зброю і про фронти. Це про те, ким ми є насправді. Це про те, що ми нікому не дали і не дамо себе зламати. Це також про тих, хто більше вже не з нами. Але їхня любов до України стала вже частиною нас. Ми дякуємо нашим союзникам. Велика Британія – це не просто партнер. Це друг, який поруч з нами у найважчі моменти. Thank you for standing with us. Your support give us strength. Every donation, every protest, every shared story matters. You help the world to hear Ukraine. Please do not stop. Keep speaking. Keep pushing your leaders. Keep supporting us. Together we will win. А найбільша подяка – це вам, українці. Тим, хто не втомився перш за все вірити, хто не припинив боротися, хто не дозволив темряві. Попереду ще буде багатько випробувань. Іноді буде темно, іноді буде страшно, але вже точно ніколи не буде соромно. Пам'ятайте, найдовша ніч завжди перед світанком. І наш світанок уже близько. Ми повернемо все, що належить нам. Ми повернемо Україну собі, а світові правду. Сьогодні ми не просто згадуємо, ми стверджуємо, Україна буде, тому що Україна – це ми. Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Слава Збройним силам України! Дякую! Разом переможемо!
Hello, please give a warm welcome to Rachel Blake, the MP for Cities of London and Westminster.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's an honour to be here tonight with you to mark the 3rd anniversary of Ukraine's resistance against Russia's illegal invasion. We gather to remember the sacrifices made by the people of Ukraine and to renew our unwavering commitment to their cause. Today I met with a young Ukrainian man who had moved from the Ukraine to Westminster. We had a powerful and moving conversation. He's moved here to continue with his studies at a time when he should be fully focused on a brighter future. And tonight we stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian community here in the UK and with all Ukrainians who are fighting for their freedom and independence. We also recognise the tremendous support shown by local communities, organisations and individuals who have opened their homes to refugees. We stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian refugees who have found refuge here in the UK, the generosity of local communities, organisations and individuals who have opened up their homes. We must ensure that we continue to provide a safe haven for those fleeing conflict, while also supporting those communities in the UK, providing education and helping to rebuild lives. The UK and the Ukraine have entered a landmark 100-year partnership reflecting our commitment to deepening our security ties and supporting Ukraine's recovery and growth. This anniversary serves as a reminder that the war in Ukraine is far from over. The Ukrainian people will continue to fight with extraordinary courage and resilience. And as we reflect on the past 3 years, we must also look to the future, ensuring that Ukraine remains strong and secure in the face of ongoing Russian aggression. The UK will continue to provide crucial military and humanitarian support, including £100 million in aid for hospitals and medical care to burn victims. Your resilience is our inspiration, and we will never back down in the fight for peace, democracy and justice. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, I'd like to please give a round of applause for MP for Kensington and Bayswater, Joe Powell.
Good evening, everybody. I have the honour of representing the West London constituency of Kensington and Bayswater, the home of the Ukrainian Social Club, the Ukrainian Embassy, the fantastic St Mary's Saturday School that we heard perform just now. We are incredibly proud of our Ukrainian community. So tonight we stand in solidarity with Ukrainians across the UK, but also with those fighting right now on the front line for freedom and democracy, not just for Ukraine, but for Europe as a whole. Because history tells us, from Moldova to Georgia, that Putin will not stop with Ukraine, that Putin only understands strength. So there will be no doubt that Britain, under whatever political party, will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. I'm proud that today this government have announced the biggest increase in sanctions since the full-scale illegal invasion 3 years ago, that we have committed to £3 billion in military aid for as long as it takes, and an additional 2.2 billion over the next 2 years from frozen Russian assets. But while I'm proud of everything we're doing, we know that in London, for too long, this has been a home for autocrats and oligarchs to stash their dirty money in property and assets across this city. So there is more that we can do. For example, Roman Abramovich was given permission to sell Chelsea FC and for the 2.5 billion of profit to go to humanitarian need in Ukraine. To date, not a single penny of that money has been spent. That is a disgrace. We should unlock that money immediately for people on the front line in Ukraine. But we can go even further. Across the West, there is £300 billion in Russian sovereign assets. That money can go now as a down payment for the reparations for the damage and destruction that Russia has caused in Ukraine. We need other European countries to step up and agree to get that money frozen and released as soon as possible. We have to move now. So let me be clear in closing. This Prime Minister Keir Starmer and this government stand fully shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainian people and with President Zelensky. We know who the dictator is in this war. The dictator is the person that has ruthlessly controlled Russia for the past 25 years. It is not President Zelensky. And there can be no peace deal without Ukrainians at the table. So now's the moment for us to stay strong, for us to step up and support the Ukrainian community in the Ukraine, the Ukrainian troops on the front line, because peace will only come through strength, and the UK government stands fully behind you. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini! Please welcome to the stage MP for Rayleigh and Wickford, Shadow Minister of Defence, Mark Francois. Give a round of applause, please.
Good evening, Trafalgar Square. It is a great privilege for me to speak at this rally this evening. I am the Conservative MP for Rayleigh and Wickford. I am the Shadow Armed Forces Minister for the Conservative Party. But more importantly than all of that, I am the son of a D-Day veteran. My father, Stoker First Class Reginald Francois, fought fascism and won. You are fighting fascism and you will win. I have a message for you this evening from my party leader, Kemi Badenoch. All the parties in Parliament are united in your support. This is not a contest between us and Labour. We are with you, but this is what my party leader said today. On the 3rd anniversary of the start of Russia's illegal invasion, we all need to remember how this war started and restate our shared values and why we collectively back Ukraine. The Conservatives are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. They have been battling the most flagrant breach of territorial integrity and sovereignty in Europe in recent times. They are on the front line, protecting the principles that underpin our whole way of life: democracy, liberty, and the rule of law. I'm proud that Britain has stood with the heroes of Ukraine as they defend their country, and that the UK Parliament has been united in our resolve to do all we can to back them. I have 4 brief things to add. Firstly, from the day of the Russian invasion in 2022, and remember that was the second Russian invasion, the first was in 2014. And after the first one, we in Britain began training Ukrainian soldiers because you knew what was coming. And we equipped them and we gave them those NLAW missiles that defended your capital, Ukraine, when the second Russian invasion came. We helped your soldiers learn how to fight, although they had already learned before. Many people around the world said the Russians would overrun Kyiv in 3 days. They said you wouldn't fight. They were wrong. And with so much happening internationally, we perhaps should remind President Trump of one small fact. The Article 5 clause in the Washington Treaty, the one that says an attack on one is an attack on all, has only ever been invoked once in NATO's history, by America, after 9/11. When 4,000 Americans and other citizens, including Brits, were brutally murdered by terrorists. President Bush invoked Article 5 and asked for European NATO to come to America's aid, and we did. Within weeks, British Special Forces were fighting alongside American Special Forces, killing terrorists in the caves of Bora Bora. When America invoked Article 5, Europe, and in particular Britain, stood up. We came to their defence. Perhaps we should remind President Trump of that. A last thing. President Zelensky is not a dictator. President Zelensky is a hero. When Russia invaded and tried to capture him or kill him, he was offered a helicopter ride out of Kyiv. He famously replied, "I don't need a ride, I need ammunition." Those are not the words of a dictator. The dictator, Putin, is the man that ordered the invasion. He must be defeated. In 1940, we in Britain stood alone. They wrote us off too. They said we wouldn't fight. And we did. And we won. And we're free. And one day all of Ukraine will be free again. Slava Ukraine! We're just waiting for the next speaker, so just talk among yourselves for a minute.
February 23rd was the usual day. I woke up, my morning started with a devotional practice, I made breakfast and went to work. My way to work is through the Primorsky Boulevard. This road takes me about 3 kilometers. I looked at the sea. The sea was so quiet. Well, it was amazingly quiet sea. I was late, but I thought that I couldn't fail to stop. I couldn't fail to greet. It was a foggy day, but the sea was so quiet and I made an Insta story.
She showed me a clip, which I think is gone now. She set it to music, and it was with the Azov-style steel plant in the background, and it was along the beach at Mariupol, and there's her just walking with waves lapping against the sand, and her feet, and the date on it was February the 23rd. It was unbelievable what was about to happen.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
Until something bad happens.
Chris, that sucks. You know what? Russia is following all checkpoints and just pray.
Добрий вечір, друзі! Слава Україні! I have the pleasure now of welcoming James McCleary, MP for Lewis, Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Europe. Please join me in welcoming him right now.
Dobry wieczór. First of all, can I thank the organisers of this wonderful event and all of you for coming out tonight. It's really amazing to see you all. Yesterday afternoon, I attended a gathering in my constituency to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We heard accounts of the journeys of Ukrainians who have travelled to the UK and made their home in our community of Sussex. This group of women have formed a volunteer group called the Ukrainian Hearts, which supports other local Ukrainians, promotes Ukrainian culture and provides support directly to the people of Ukraine. We saw pictures of children in hospital in Ukraine, opening Christmas presents sent direct from Sussex. An incredible group of people doing incredible things and showing the spirit and resilience that has typified the heroic Ukrainian resistance to Russia's onslaught these past 3 years. We must though remember why those children are in hospital. They are victims of the illegal Russian assault on civilian targets across Ukraine. Children who were living normal lives, going to school, playing with friends until this day, 3 years ago, their lives were turned on their heads. From the very first day of this invasion, our country has answered the call. Not just with words of support, but with weapons, training and economic pressure on the Russian state. The British public have opened their homes to Ukrainian refugees and made it clear, we will not abandon Ukrainians fighting for liberty. But today, the West's commitment to Ukraine is being tested like never before. As President Trump peddles Russian propaganda, the future of Western support for Ukraine is in jeopardy. If the US can no longer be relied upon to support Ukraine, then Britain and our European allies must step up. That leadership cannot come from empty words, it must come from action. It means ensuring that Ukraine has what it needs, not just to survive this war, but to win it. That includes military aid, economic relief, and the resources to rebuild a country torn apart by Russian missiles. It also means wielding the power we already have, by confiscating frozen Russian assets and turning them into a financial lifeline for Ukraine. £40 billion lies within our grasp, money stolen by Putin's cronies and hoarded in London, Paris, Berlin and beyond. For too long, Russian money has found its way through the cracks in our system. Sanctions must not be words on a page, they must be ironclad, rigorously enforced and impossible to evade. Let us be clear, this is not just about Ukraine. Britain must follow the US and the European Parliament and impose sanctions on Bidzina Ivanishvili, the oligarch undermining Georgian democracy in the service of Putin's interests. His grip on Georgia's government threatens its European future, and Britain cannot allow Kremlin-backed elites to evade consequences while destabilising our allies. If Putin succeeds, he will not stop. His imperial ambitions will continue to grow, and other tyrants will take note. This is about protecting the liberal rules-based international order, standing up for a world where freedom prevails over force. There are those who say Britain should step back from global leadership. They are wrong. History will judge us not for the choices we make in this moment. We can choose appeasement or we can choose resolve. We can choose to let Putin tighten his grip on Europe, or we can choose to fight back. Russia is conducting hybrid warfare across the former Soviet sphere of influence, in Georgia, in Belarus, in Moldova and elsewhere. And inside Russia itself, where opposition voices are brutally silenced. Last week was the first anniversary of the death of Alexei Navalny, who so bravely defied Putin and paid the price with his life. We must fight back and win in Ukraine to win the bigger fight. Arm Ukraine with the tools to resist. Cripple Russia's economy. Make clear beyond doubt that Britain stands unshaken in its commitment to Ukrainian victory. Not just for your sake, but for all of ours. Because this is a fight for freedom. This is a fight for justice. A fight that Britain cannot and will not walk away from. Slava Ukraini.
Okay, we have another incredible speaker right now. I have the pleasure of introducing Melanie Joly, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Canada. Please welcome her.
Hi everybody, it's a pleasure for me to be with you tonight on this very important commemoration. It is important that we all display international support for Ukraine. Ça me fait plaisir d'être avec vous ce soir. Now, we know that for 3 years, Vladimir Putin's Russia has tried to break the Ukrainian military and has failed. For 3 years, Putin's Russia has tried to break the Ukrainian people and failed. And for 3 years, Putin's Russia has tried to break our resolve. And we're gathered here tonight to say that they have failed. The last 3 years, however, have taken a terrible toll. Hundreds of thousands of deaths, millions that have been torn from their homes, and 20,000 children taken by Russia far from their Ukrainian families. We honor and mourn the dead. We must never give up on making sure that every child is brought back to its family. It is said that in every war, the first casualty is truth. We owe it to every victim of Russia's illegal war to protect the truth and be very clear. Only one country owns the blame for the war: Russia. Only one country bears the responsibility for the hundreds of thousands of dead soldiers and civilians: Russia. Only one country separated children from their families: Russia. There can be no doubt about this, because fundamentally, it comes down to choices. Russia chose to invade another sovereign country. Russia chose to violate international rules, and Putin chose the path of war and destruction. What did Ukraine do? Ukraine is defending itself. Ukraine is defending its people, and Ukraine is fighting to exist. And when it comes to Ukraine, of course, these aren't actually choices. These are duties, duties to its own people. The international community also has choices. Will we ignore the lessons of the world wars? Will we turn our back on our international principles that have kept us safe since the Second World War? Will we allow tyranny to once again use force to push across Europe? Exactly, never. All of us want peace in Ukraine, a peace that is a just and sustainable peace, not a short one, and certainly not a fake one. A peace that protects innocent and does not reward the aggressor. Canada will continue to hold Russia accountable, and amidst the chaos and war, there is one thing Ukrainians can always count on: Canada's unwavering support. Thank you so much, London.
Hello everyone. Right now we are going to perform a flash mob just in the front of the stage. Зараз ми будемо робити флешмоб. Будь ласка, ті, хто перша лінія, будь ласка, підійдіть подалі. My name is Kate, and I'm Ukrainian. And today I have a questions for you to think about. Why does Ukraine stay strong for so long time? As usually I spend half of the year in Ukraine, I have been persistently looking for the answer. Talking to my friends at Frontline, chatting with volunteers, and even asking my mom. And I think I found a clue. We believe. We believe that things can get better, that they will get better. But our belief is not about the blind optimism. Our belief is about seeing the opportunity and pull all your efforts to achieve it. There is no strength greater than people defend their home. When people defend the one they love, because they believe they are doing the right thing. And that is the right thing to do. That's why Ukrainians' resistance is so strong. Our army has all skills is needed. Strong motivation, huge belief, and what is more, it has unique, hard-learned experience. The only thing we need to win right now is all you to believe it. Let me explain. Remember the action when you truly believed in something. Remember? And then you achieve it. Well done. But now revising your memory, the action where you couldn't succeed. And now ask yourself seriously a question. Did you truly believe in it? Action without belief is like giving weapons to Ukraine, but not enough to win. Don't get me wrong. We are deeply grateful for arming Ukraine. But with spreading the help, our resistance won't last forever. We are strong, but we are not immortal. The key to secure the peace in the world is only our victory. And together, we can win. All you need to do is believe. If you can do it, if each of you can truly do that, can't nobody rip Ukraine apart. And yes, as you understood, I share Ted Lasso philosophy, the same as many Ukrainians do. Because to believe in yourself, to believe in one another, that's fundamental to being alive. That's why Ukraine still stays strong. And now ask yourself a question. Do you believe in Ukraine? Because it's time to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ukrainian viewers. Stand with Ukraine. Believe in Ukraine.
Okay, next I have the honor of introducing a friend, the founder of Outsiders, executive producer of Safe Ultrasound, activist for Ukraine, Stephen Lacey. Please give him a hand.
Slava Ukraine! Slava Ukraine! I'm here, and I was brought up to believe that true friendship is not being there for the good times, but standing all the time when people are in trouble and in darkness. And I stand with my friend Ukraine. But I'm not alone. Millions of Britons stand with Ukraine. And they are not alone, because every decent person of this world who believes in democracy, freedom, rule of law and dignity stands with Ukraine. And we stand We stand against the plague that has engulfed Russia. The plague, the big plague, the plague of Russian imperialism, attempted colonialism, fascism and terrorism. We stand and we will protect Ukraine because with your courage and your passion to defend our freedom. But sadly, the germ has got to be a little stronger. And it's come from people with so-called power in the West. So let's speak truth. Let's speak truth to power. Truth to power. And let's say it as it is. To Trump, to Vance, to Elon Musk, to the Republicans like Moscow Marge, to those that think that Ukraine is a pawn in a big game, to those that believe that Ukraine has no agency or power, to those in the White House who have sacrificed nothing. They've not lost a loved one or family friend in the war. They've not seen 250,000 children kidnapped. They have not seen the wisdom of the elderly wiped up. They haven't seen the energy of the youth wiped out. To those that are flip-flopping, saying there's a middle ground. To those that are acting like Pontius Pilate, saying they're going to wash their hands of Ukraine. To the Judases out there, I give a strong warning, but I'm not alone. The free world gives a strong warning. If you continue on this path, history will damn you. History will curse you for being the coward that you are. The present condemns you because Ukraine is the sitch that is protecting the free world. The future will condemn you because you will make this plague stronger and stronger and stronger, and it will come back. So it's time to be honest, to be truthful, to speak to power. Not only that, you are on the side of darkness. But light, history shows, light always wins. And it will be light, darkness will be trampled down, death by death. And we're to achieve that, we have to stand strong, upright and proud with confidence because we know that Ukraine will win. We have to only put Ukraine first. Only put Ukraine first. And we have to ensure that we make Russia weak again. We make Russia small again. For then, the light will shine. And the light will shine on the Ukrainian nation and the world. The light of dignity. The light of a dignified peace. The light of freedom. The light against totalitarianism. The light on the right side of justice. But most importantly, US, you're no longer the symbol of the free world. Ukraine is a symbol of the free world, and no one else. You have taken the mantle, and you will rise and rise and rise. And that's not hope, that is reality. Slava Ukraine!
Thank you, Steve. Very powerful speech. Slava Ukraini! My friends, I'd like to remind you all that our community does rallies at 10 Downing Street on Wednesdays at 6 and on Sundays at 3 o'clock. Please come and show your support. We can all support Ukraine in our own way. Now, I'd like to invite to the stage a man who needs no introduction. Leader of the Ukrainian band Antitila. Spokesperson for the Youth Council under the President of Ukraine, volunteer fighter Taras Topoля.
I'm truly honored to speak in the heart of London, in a square named after the glorious victory of the British fleet over a numerically superior opponent, which occurred nearly 120 years ago. It is the same square where almost 80 years ago on May 8th, 1945, Prime Minister Churchill announced victory over Nazi Germany. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to the people of the United Kingdom for their unwavering military and humanitarian support for Ukraine. My generation is thankful for this, and I will always remember the hand of assistance that Britain extended not only during the full-scale invasion, but earlier when Russia annexed Crimea and began the war in Donbass. I'm sure that everyone here in this square feels that gratitude as well. Today we are living through one of the most dramatic moments in modern history. Therefore, it is essential to cast aside empty slogans and formal statements and to speak one to another openly, while there is still time, while there is still a chance to avert the tragedy of a great war in Europe, while Ukraine stands as a shield and prevents Russia from depriving the citizens of European countries of their lives. The crucial word here is while. Today, in the third year of the war, it has become abundantly clear that while Ukraine has been heroically battling against the common enemy, assistance from our allies has been insufficient and arrived too late. I would even say too late, too late. This is the central theme of Fifth Symphony by the brilliant composer Ludwig van Beethoven, also known as Fate Knocking at the Door. In this masterpiece, the struggle between frivolity and carefree existence and the relentless, invertible fate is conveyed through two musical lines, dramatically piercing through the facade of seemingly easy life. In the end, in the final of the piece, the orchestra literally erupts into crescendo and the dramatic line prevails. For you cannot escape from fate. We Ukrainians know this better than anyone. It is our fate to fight for our existence, for a civilized future not only for Ukraine, but for all of Europe. From the very first day, we have valiantly accepted this challenge and continue to hold back the tide of the aggressor bleeding in process. An aggressor that has adopted all the traits characteristic of Nazism and decades after the Second World War embodied the same Hitlerian ideas in the occupied Ukrainian territories. The Putin regime has created concentration camps filled with captured soldiers and civilians, subjecting them to brutal torture. They are tortured, starved, simply because they hold a Ukrainian passport. The Russian regime is abducting our children. Some of them also find their way into these camps. But without exception, their minds are stuffed with Nazi ideas as if following Goebbels' methodologies. We believe that Europe will respond appropriately to such challenges, and that the tears of Christopher Hesgen at the closing of the Munich conference will not signify the collapse of the transatlantic European security architecture, but will encourage a deeper understanding and empathy for the tears and pain of Ukrainians, and support us in our fight for the future not only for Ukraine, but of all democratic Europe. The events of recent weeks, particularly the unity of European Union countries and Britain, increase our hope of finally being heard. As the distinguished English poet of the 16th century, John Donne, wrote, "Never sent to know for whom the bell tolls. They tolls for thee." waking up. For today the bells are tolling for the millennia-old European civilization. If urgent conclusions are not drawn and action not taken, the results of the Munich conference, which took place at the beginning of February 2025, and from which some politicians called for appeasement of modern-day Nazi, will lead to the well-known consequences of Munich of 1938. For the same policy of appeasing the aggressor, the same policy of isolationism is once again in vogue. Unfortunately, the historical scenario is repeating itself with devilish accuracy. Therefore, we need to refresh our memory. The Munich Agreement of 1938 and the Blitzkrieg operation during which London and Trafalgar Square, where we have gathered today, trembled from the explosions of Nazi bombs, were separated by only 2 years. The countdown has begun. The bubble of calm, affluent, stable and somewhat carefree existence in Europe has already burst. Its atmosphere and microclimate are dissipating at the speed with which Russian interests are advancing in Ukraine and the world. The illusions are over, and Europe must immediately begin to build a dam of fire and steel, relying on its own strength, as well as the vast military experience of Ukraine. The recipe is obvious and simple, and is not for me, an artist and military volunteer from Ukraine, to explain it. However, on behalf of the Ukrainian people, I would like to reiterate its key components. The development of a cohesive European strategy to counter the Russian threat. The enhancement of own military capabilities, particularly in arms production, as well as conducting military exercise of united forces, and without delay. A significant increase and acceleration of military and financial support for Ukraine, not as charity for a country on the margins of Europe, but as a direct investment in its own peaceful and successful future, which is impossible without Ukraine victory. After all, the war with Russia is not merely local, but of a civilizational and ideological nature. Europeans must do this, for as Churchill said in June 1940. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that man will still say, this was their fine hours. Thank you. Perhaps my speech is painful for some, yet I proclaim it here in Great Britain with the confidence that the British people are the leadership of this country, are not under the sweet illusion that negotiations with aggressor will lead to lasting peace. We remember that Great Britain was the only country that stood against Nazism in the Second World War from its first day to its last. And I am certain that the United Kingdom is a nation that clearly understands the threat and has the strength and potential to act as a true leader in the free democratic world. May British resolve be a powerful signal for not only Ukraine, but for the whole world. Our values, our dignity, and our freedom are worth fighting for. Together, we will win. Thank you. Glory to Ukraine! Slava Ukraini!
My friends, now we're going to watch a video by Paul Grod, the president of the Ukrainian World Congress.
Dear Ukrainians and friends of Ukraine, as we gather on this solemn anniversary, 3 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion, and 11 years when Russia invaded and illegally occupied Ukraine's Crimea and Donbas regions, we remember the tens of thousands of Ukrainians who have lost their lives or have been wounded protecting Europe from Russia's criminal war. For years, the Kremlin and its apologists have spread lies, calling it a civil war, delegitimizing Ukraine's democratically elected leaders, spreading lies about corruption and blaming the war on the West. But we know the truth. Let's call it what it is. It is Russia's full-scale invasion, occupation, and destruction of Ukraine and the rules-based international order. This is Russian aggression, and Russia must be defeated and brought to justice. For centuries, Russia has sought to erase Ukraine, to crush our language, our culture, our very identity. Today they continue this brutal campaign under the ideology of Russism, Russian imperialism and chauvinism combined. But they have failed. They have failed because Ukraine fights. Ukraine is united and resilient, and Ukraine will prevail. We must be absolutely clear. Russia will not stop unless it is defeated. There is no peace without victory. Ukraine must restore its internationally recognized borders. This is our right enshrined in the United Nations Charter. No tyrant can be allowed to redraw borders by force. No ally should pressure Ukraine to surrender. We as Ukrainians and freedom-loving people must never allow lawlessness and brutality to prevail. Putin will never stop. His goal is not just Ukrainian land. He wants to erase Ukrainians as a nation. His so-called demilitarization is about making us defenseless. His so-called denazification is a mask for genocide. And let's be clear, his ambitions do not stop at Ukraine's borders. If Ukraine falls, Europe is next. This is not just Ukraine's fight. This is a fight for the future of freedom. The crimes of Russia are unspeakable. They have stolen our land, our homes, and even our children. If you doubt the evil of this war, watch the new documentary, Children in the Fire, by Yevgeny Afanevsky. It exposes the horrors, the systemic kidnapping, torture, and abuse of Ukraine's most vulnerable, its children. This is not a conflict where deals can be made. You cannot negotiate with someone who seeks to destroy you. For Ukrainians, this is a matter of life and death. And they have made their choice. They choose to live. They choose to fight. They choose freedom. We as the Ukrainian World Congress, and as the global Ukrainian community and friends of Ukraine around the world, will do whatever it takes to ensure victory. We must recognize a harsh reality. Peace comes only through strength. That is why we must continue to provide Ukraine with the military, economic, and political support necessary to win. Yet today we face a troubling moment. For the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion, the United States has begun to waver. This week, the U.S. refused to co-sponsor a United Nations resolution condemning Russia's war. This is unacceptable. Now more than ever, the world must stand united. Ukraine's fight is the world's fight. Today, Ukraine stands as a real and stable democracy, with President Zelensky holding an approval rating of over 55%, and every major opposition party agreeing to postpone elections until after Ukraine's victory. But what about Russia? Putin has ruled for 25 years by jailing and murdering his opponents. He is not a leader, he's a dictator. Putin is the illegitimate president of Russia. The only option for peace in Ukraine and Europe is to defeat Putin. Despite everything Ukraine has endured, for 3 years, our heroes in the front lines have defied one of the world's largest armies. Their strength is bolstered by the unwavering support of our partners, governments, organizations, and countless volunteers who give everything for Ukraine. To them we say, we are eternally grateful. Дякую. And let us never forget the true heroes of this war, the brave defenders of Ukraine, the armed forces of Ukraine, ЗСУ, the men and women who risk their lives every day to defend their homeland, their families, and the future of Ukraine. We honor you. We thank you. You are the shield of Europe, and you will prevail. But our work is not done. We must double our efforts. We must secure Ukraine's victory. We must ensure a just and lasting peace, not just for Ukraine, but for all who cherish freedom and democracy around the world. Together, we will prevail. Together, we will win. Slava Ukraini!
ЗСУ! 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 Slava Ukraini! My friends, I'd like to invite to the stage the chairman of the
with Ukraine. Whatever happens, we will continue to stand with Ukraine until peace and victory is achieved. Dear Ukrainians, dear friends of Ukraine, 3 years ago, Putin's Russia illegally invaded a sovereign territory, Ukraine. None of us expected this senseless war to go on for so long. His commanders predicted victory and the taking of Ukraine's capital in 3 days. That soon proved unachievable, as Russian forces faltered and were held and destroyed not only by the Ukrainian armed forces, but also by civilians. Many Ukrainians fled the country for safety once it was clear of Putin's real intention to completely wipe Ukraine off the world map. This he has not, and he will never achieve. Ukraine was, is, and will be Three years on, and Ukraine is still defiant and standing firm to the frustration of its aggressor. At this 3rd anniversary, sadly we find ourselves once more in the breach, with the new President of America stating he can end the war and bring peace, but how and at what cost to Ukraine? There is no peace without Ukraine at the table. We are living in a totally new dimension, where once America stood firm with Ukraine, but has now seemed to have changed sides and gone with the aggressor, bringing Russia back in from the cold. We can only hope that common sense will prevail and Mr. Trump will see the reality of who he is really dealing with, a dictator and a murderer. The war continues and Ukraine's resilience remains, with our support to those defending it. The colours of blue and yellow run through us all who stand with Ukraine and believe in freedom. We all wish for peace, but a just peace. Many, thousands, have given the ultimate sacrifice, and we hope that this was not in vain. To abandon Ukraine at this juncture would be disastrous. The world needs to remain firm and not allow evil to be victorious over good. We thank the United Kingdom and Europe for its continued solid support for Ukraine, with the announcement of new sanctions on Russia and a further £3.5 billion of aid to Ukraine. We must remain positive until we achieve peace and victory. Slava Ukraini!
My friends, when a wild creature tastes human flesh, it must be put down. To let it out the cage and try to domesticate it is worse than stupid. It's suicide. That is why we must unite with all of the free world and finally put down the beast. Stop Russia, stop the war. Stop Russia, stop the war. Stop Russia, stop the war. Now, my friends, I'd like to invite to the stage the leader of the band Mandre, a volunteer, Serhiy Fomenko.
Слава Україні! Дорогі друзі, дуже раді всі тут присутні бачити один одного. І зараз я хочу попросити вас зробити одну річ. Light up torches on your phones for Ukrainian Armed Forces, please. Дякую. І пісня, яка буде зараз звучати для них, вона називається «Гради вогняні». На світанку тануть, як ти, зорі золоті, золоті, і падають у вікна твої золотих зірок промені, де стрімких джерел течія, весняних гілок білий цвіт, де лунає пісня моя, а в твоїх очах там лід. Розривають землю гради вогняні. Там, де наче леви б'ються лицарі твої. Там, де чорний кружляють полум'ї війни. Хай боронить Бог від смерті воїнів твоїх. Ще одна пісня, яка присвячується боротьбі українців за волю і незалежність. Їй вже 20 років. Це пісня двох київських українських революцій і також цієї війни. Don't sleep, my native lambs.
Візьміться за руки. All comes for Ukraine. Я тобі скажу. Світ сам. Де срібляста ніч. Тремтить ударить ворога. Удалий край. Лежить на легкий шлях. Добрий ніч. Шлях поколу. Не спи, моя рідна земля. Прокинься, моя країна. Відкрий свої очі у світлі далеких зірок. Закріпляться з темних небес. Загиблі поети й герої. Всі ті, що поклали життя за майбутнє твоє. Тільки два шляхи. Один у пекло. Інший шлях тебе. Буде не світ. Що знайде цей шлях? Послухай своє серце. Твоє серце знає. його світи. Не спи, моя рідна земля, прокинься, моя Україна, відкрий свої очі у світлі далеких зірок. Запіляться з темних небес, запілі поверхні герої, всі ті, що поклали життя за майбутнє твоє. Я тобі, моя рідна земля, прокинься, моя Україна, відкрий свої очі у світлі далеких зірок. Запіляться з темних небес, запілі поверхні герої, всі ті, що поклали життя за майбутнє твоє. Не спи, моя рідна земля, прокинься, моя Україна, відкрий свої очі у світлі далеких зірок. Запіляться хвилі з небес, запілі поверхні герої, всі ті, хто так вірив у світле майбутнє твоє. Слава подяку героям України! Now Ukraine is a very strong radical world of family and the world of free people. Слава Україні! All hands for Ukraine!
Thank you, Great Britain. Thank you, London, for support. We are very glad to stay with you. Thank you. І те, що я сказав всередині, друзі, можемо взятися один одного за руки. Один одного за руки. Цей флешмоб має бути по всьому світі. Всі руки для України. All hands for Ukraine. Дякуємо. Thanks.
Слава Україні! Слава нації! Україна! 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 І найкращим захисникам та захисницям України тричі! Дорогі друзі, сьогодні не лише 3-й рік повномасштабного вторгнення, а 11-й рік війни. Ми дуже заохочуємо кожного підтримувати Україну не тільки сьогодні, а кожного дня. Ми збираємо донати на гуманітарну допомогу. Це зареєстрована благодійна організація British Ukrainian Aid. Ви можете відсканувати QR-код і задонатити на швидкі допомоги для наших захисників. Це надзвичайно важливо, будь ласка, нас сьогодні так багато. А знаєте, скільки зібрала благодійна організація? Всього лише 100 фунтів. Будь ласка, відскануйте QR-код і зробіть донат, зробіть добру справу сьогодні. Dear friends, I'm just here to remind everyone that tonight, today,
It's not just the third year of full-scale invasion. Ukraine has been fighting Russia for 11 years now. And we're raising funds for Ukraine and Ukrainians in need every day. British Ukrainian Aid is a registered charity, so you can scan the QR code just here and donate. There are so many of us here tonight, and unfortunately only £100 has been raised so far. So please scan the QR code. This is all going to go towards humanitarian aid to repair and buy ambulances for our defenders. And now, like I said, since the war has been going on since 2014, there are thousands of Ukrainians kept in Russian jails. It is an unfortunate number, and I'm privileged and honored right now to introduce two British men who are former prisoners of war. Sean Pinner joined the Ukrainian armed forces. He endured and survived the horrors of Russian captivity. John Harding was a medic who also likewise endured the horrors of Russian captivity. These men are true heroes. Please welcome them. І я повторю українською, друзі, я маю за честь представити на цій сцені Шона Пінера та Джона Хардіна. Вони пережили російський полон. Шон приєднався до Збройних сил України, а Джон був медиком. Ці люди справжні герої. Давайте поаплодуємо їм за те, що вони пережили.
Good evening. Привет. I stand before you today, not just a British veteran, but a very proud Ukrainian one. And John. My home was Mariupol. On the opening day of the invasion, together with John, we defended the city for 7 weeks. My home was Mariupol. My family's Ukrainian. My wife's Ukrainian. We stood and fought for 7 weeks, and when we were finally encircled and captured, unfortunately we were succumbed to brutal torture, electrocuted, starved, beaten, tasered, along with our fellow Ukrainian soldiers. We were then put on a sham trial where I was given a death penalty. Total sham. I'd never actually left the country I had legal status in. I was tried as a mercenary, a Nazi, and a terrorist, of all things. Simply, it was just untrue. I watched Russia slaughter over 25,000, predominantly Russian-speaking Ukrainians. My wife being from Crimea too. Putin's narrative was to come in and save the Russian speakers. Well, I was from East Ukraine, and unfortunately the first language I learned was Russian. My wife from Crimea speaks Russian and Ukrainian. He didn't save us, or any of the 25,000 he slaughtered in Mariupol. It's really important that you are here today, because when you've had every part of humanity stripped from you, when you've been dehumanized, tortured, beaten, starved, hope is sometimes all you have left. And we need that right now, especially since Russian narratives are being repeated by our allies. That's very important to really know. We, including John, support Ukraine. You support Ukraine, and I applaud that, so thank you. Slava Ukraine!
Thank you very much. And thanks to every single Ukrainian defender, because Ukrainians are protecting peace right now, and all of our defenders are doing that for all of our sake. If any of you know anyone who is currently in Russian captivity, or if you know of anyone who is looking for help for their loved ones, friends, or family who are in the Russian captivity, then you can contact the Ombudsman, and the contact details are behind me. So please take pictures of this slide and do get in touch, do get in contact, because we do care about our own. And those who are in captivity are suffering the most right now. Дорогі друзі, якщо хтось з вас знає когось, хто знаходиться в полоні, або знає когось, в кого є родина, друзі, знайомі, полонені, сфотографуйте, будь ласка, цей слайд. Там є контактні деталі омбудсмена, і ви можете звернутися за допомогою. На жаль, Росія – це найгірший агресор за всю, напевно, історію, але ми маємо все ж таки підтримувати тих, хто бореться за нас. Тому, будь ласка, сфотографуйте цей слайд та звертайтесь. Слава Україні! І також я ще раз нагадую за донати. Будь ласка, продовжуйте донатити, продовжуйте підтримувати Україну, продовжуйте донатити за QR-кодом, продовжуйте свою підтримку. I'm just reminding once again, please continue supporting Ukraine, continue donating. I've already said it, but it's extremely important that we get as many donations as possible, especially on a day like today, especially with everything that has been going on in the world. So please continue your donations. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce a video from our defenders. This is a video from the front lines just for us. Зараз, друзі, буде відео від наших захисників. Будь ласка, дивимось відео.
This war together. If Russia stops bombing, will be no war. If us Ukraine stops fighting, will be no Ukraine.
We defend our independent country.
We fight for democracy and freedom.
We thank you, Great Britain, for your help and support.
Якщо домовлятись про мир, то лише з України. Вона має бути головною у переговорному процесі.
Тому нам, як і раніше, потрібна ваша допомога. Сподіваємося, що разом з Британією Україна зможе відстояти своє і також зможе самостійно вирішувати своє майбутнє на міжнародній арені. Дякую.
Зараз нам стає дедалі важче і важче. Я як водій скажу вам, дуже важко під'їжджати на позицію. Дуже важко з цим боротися, і нам не вистачає нормальної, адекватної, як в якості, так і в кількості зброї. Нам дуже важко стає. І повірте, коли ми сидимо на позиціях, захищаючи нашу країну, захищаючи наші домівки, і чуємо, як происходять всі перемовини про Україну без України, то нам хочеться трошки прийти і сказати, схаменіться, будь ласка. Бо як можна вирішувати про країну, яка воює, яка страждає кожен божий день, без неї? Це не є правильно.
ЗСУ! ЗСУ! And now I'm here to introduce Vlodko Pavlyuk, who is the head of Association of Ukrainians in Great Britain. They've been